on Sports Channel. An unusual one, Baz, because I know you often get in front of the mirror and do a lot of that bodybuilding, looking at yourself, mate. But our next guest, Sam Mussared, is an absolute superstar of bodybuilding. He's a South Aussie, and we're glad he's in the studio. Sam, appreciate you coming in, mate.
Yeah, that's all right.
Mate, let's start with the journey for you, how you got into bodybuilding. Am I right in saying back in 2009 that kind of started the ball rolling for you?
Yeah. Well, I've always been into health and fitness, but I got king hit in the jaw at a nightclub and I had to eat through a straw for 10 weeks.
So now, it is worth mentioning, before you didn't start, you actually intervened to try and stop the fight. You weren't involved in any way. You stepped in to go, I'll break this up, and some blokes come from behind giving you a cheap one.
Yeah, well, I was there with some girlfriends, and we were just there having a good time dancing. I was meant to go to work later that night as a security guard.
Yep.
Some guy was bumping into the girls, and he looked like he wanted to smack one of them, and I'm like, hey, man, we're just here to have a good time. And he was like, oh, that's all right. But then his mate just came running up and hit me in the jaw from behind. And
was that you, Sam? Oh, sorry, mate.
Okay, we'll just take a break there so Sam can settle the score, mate. I want to watch that. So, mate, 10 weeks drinking through a straw. There's a bit of think time in that stage. And you're a single, you're not married with the kids. We'll come to that a bit later at that stage.
All by myself at that point. Yep. I had to drive home from the Stanford Grand is where it happened. Wow. So I didn't pass out, which was I guess good. Yeah. Drove home, had to have my mouth all wide shut, and then eating through a straw. The worst thing to eat through a straw, by the way, is a cheeseburger. They don't blend well.
They're a little bit lumpy as they go through, mate.
But through that, having to eat through a straw, I lost a significant amount of weight because I'd never been really all that good with the whole dieting side of things before. I just loved training.
Yep.
And then I started to see things in my body I've never seen before, muscle.
Yep.
It actually started to show, and I wanted to see more of it. So when I could start eating more solid food again, then I dedicated more time into the gym. I just wanted to get bigger so that people would leave me alone and be like, yep, let's not punch that guy in the face. We'll just let him be. And thankfully, since then...
No one has. It's clear to see why, mate. Either that or you're buying smaller shirts than you should. Hey, mate, I want to ask you this, and I know we're talking to a female competitor a little bit later on, but the mindset to get into this, I don't think people understand the commitment that you have to make to it.
Oh, well, yeah, it's hard work. I mean, there's no off-season. I mean, like, with football or not, you guys have your seasons of, like, where you're competing and you're training hard, and then you've got an off-season. Well, it's the same with bodybuilding. There is an off-season, but when it's time for comp, that whole 20 weeks of your prep, there is no day off. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to take a day off today and have a break from training and not eating right. You can't, because you live inside your body constantly, and you need to get to a particular point in how low your body fat needs to be and make your muscles as big as you can possibly get them to. So there's no...
You can't really afford to have... If you're saying you've got a little bit of time off after you've got a... You couldn't really afford to have that time off in bodybuilding because you would put on a little bit of extra or whatever. So really, it's a 12-month thing. You've got to keep going some way.
Well, it's more of a life. It's a lifestyle because you can't just be like, all right, I'm going to put the weights down for 6 months and pick them back up later. You can't because your off season is a time where you're trying to then improve and build more muscle for when you compete again the next
So you don't stop,
or two.
Mate. You don't stop.
There is no stop.
So I can understand it being not easy is not the right word, but simpler. But now we've got the wife, Michelle. We've got 2 sons, Rylan and Kaya. How does that all fit around now? Because, I don't know, I'm imagining, mate, the kids have got lollies. The temptation every now and then just to grab a chocolate.
Oh, well, my wife is more health conscious than I am. Like, her bad food is blueberries with some cocoa powder. And she's like, oh, no, I've eaten something bad. Oh. We don't have any candy in the house. So the kids, unfortunately, they don't.
So it's not too difficult from that. But, but the training, the commitment to training, the time and stuff... How do you juggle all that? Plus work. So now we've moved away from the single lifestyle to wife and 2 kids, yet still been able to maintain.
Well, thankfully, we own our own gym. So we own like a studio gym. So my work is
in the gym.
In a gym. So I'm constantly there so I can do what I need to do in order to achieve my goal of competing. It's just making sure that my diet's always spot on.
How hard is that? I mean, let's talk about Christmas, for example. You know, everyone's enjoying the... How difficult for you to look at that and go...
Well, there's different times of the year when there's shows, so I managed to start my comp prep after all of the Christmas stuff had come and gone, but then Easter and all those.
But you're on a vegan diet too. You know, I watched a comedy show, The Project was on last night, and there was a guy on there who was a comedian who's on he's a vegan diet. He said, normally we're seen as fat and slow. Clearly, you're not that.
It was 8 years now that I haven't consumed any animal product.
Right. Can you tell the difference between...
Yeah, I feel way better.
Yeah.
Like, well, my health's better, my blood work's better. without making it sound bad, but like just like subconsciously and consciously, I'm not contributing to the pain and suffering of any other creature on this planet, except for the weights.
I just want you to know that I'm suffering looking at you, mate, because I'd like to be built like that. So you're not helping me at all.
Well,
No.
the good thing with like when you eat food, right? So regardless of where it comes from, proteins, carbs, and fats. So our body doesn't discriminate where it gets amino acids from. So like you eat chicken, for instance, you're getting amino acids, you're getting protein. Whereas I eat tofu and beans or whatever, your body's going to do the exact same thing. It doesn't discriminate and go, well, that's a bean, so that's insignificant and not going to do what you need it to do.
My second daughter's vegan, so I know how it works, and I can't tell the difference when I'm eating. It all tastes the same. I just eat too much of it.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, 2019, I want to ask you about this. You win the IFBB championship, but this is the one, Baz, where you can go in using substances if you want to, or you can compete without. Now, you went in competing without and won it against 20 other competitors. How daunting going in knowing that they've had that advantage and you haven't?
Well, backstage it was a bit daunting because I'm seeing all these guys around me and they're all massive, but for the division that I compete in, it's not always about who's the biggest. It's your condition, your symmetry, how well you're able to present your body, and then obviously how much muscle you have. So they were bigger than me, but they didn't pose as good, their condition wasn't as great, and the symmetry, so the balance of their body just didn't match up to what mine was on the day.
So when you talk about the balance, when you talk about the balance, mate, you know, we tan up, we shave, we'll come about the beard. I know the wife wants to keep it, but it may have to come off.
Yeah.
How much work goes into the routine before you know, because most people who've been that don't understand this, they go, we just came out on stage and I just made that routine up and I looked pretty good. How much work goes into the routine along with the weights and everything else?
Well, the routine side of things, like I practice every night. So every night I'll go through my poses, and there's only like 8 poses that I need to learn in 4 terms. So that part's not complicated. It's just you've got to hold it for 15 to 20 seconds. So I'd be holding like a front double bicep for that amount of time and just learning to make it look relaxed and natural. There's no routines anymore, which kind of sucks. So you used to have 1 minute at a time where you would go out on stage and it's just you, and you would then create a routine, but they've gotten rid of that part of the sport, which is a bit sad.
I can't believe that there is a substance that you can, that sounds strange to me, that you'd have to go out and compete against guys who are taking something.
Well, there's lots of different federations, so that particular federation, people are using performance-enhancing substances, or they could be. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win, though, as I managed to beat them in one of the shows.
It's going to be a bit of a help for a few of them, isn't it?
Fair edge.
Oh, yeah. They're significantly bigger.
I can't believe that's happening. That shocks me.
Yeah, but then there's also natural federations where they are drug tested, and then you know that you're competing against other athletes that are on the same playing field.
But that takes away the person that does all the work and does the right thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then some guy...
But you wouldn't have to compete in it if you didn't want to.
Exactly.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But then the guy down the road, all he does is stick a needle in and bang, he's the same.
He's still got to do the work, though. Like, they can't just take that and then expect everything to grow. And that's, unfortunately, a lot of the kids today, when they go to the gym, that's what they think. It's just a quick fix. I'm gonna jab myself with this needle. It's going to make me get big, and I'm not going to have to work hard.
No quick fix. Hey, quickly, mate, what's coming up for you?
Wow.
What's next?
I'm doing the IFBB state show here in South Australia, just so I can compete in our hometown, and then the following weekend I'm doing
When are they, mate?
That is on the 1st of October.
Yep.
And then a week later is the ICN, which is a natural competition. I'm going to their nationals. I can only compete in their national events because I'm a professional athlete with the natural one.
Hey, Sam, it's been great to meet
story,
you, mate.
mate.
Great to talk to you.
Likewise.
We want to get you back. We'll get you back after the 1st of October, and if you haven't won, we want to know why, mate. So
Cool.
you're not under
Also,
much pressure.
I should be a lot more browner by then.
And also, mate, you want to catch up with that bloke who punched you in the head and say thanks very much, pal.
My life's actually gotten better since that happened, because I met my wife, got my own business now, got kids. So
Stay with us still. Plenty to come on the show.